Subhanallah, Subhanallah, Hamdan lillah, Hamdan lillah, wa la ilaha illallah, wa la ilaha illallah, Wallahu akbar, Wallahu akbar.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to Al-Hikmat TV. My name is Naima Khan Ghani and I'll be your host for today's segment of Who's Who in America and the Community. This program brings to you individuals who have dedicated and committed their lives to serving Allah. We hope that their story will serve as an inspiration for you to get involved in your community. Today my guest is Brother Raaid Khan, who is the former president of the Florida Association of Young Muslims, also known as Faym, and he's presently serving on the leadership board of Faym. Welcome to the program, Brother Raaid.
Thank you.
It certainly is a pleasure to have you. Tell us a little bit about who Brother Raaid Khan is, also known as Silent K, I should say.
Yes. My name is Brother Raaid Khan, like you said. I was born in Guyana, and I was there for about 11 months till we migrated over to America in the New York, New Jersey area, and I resided there for about 4 or 5 years till I moved down to South Florida.
So you practically grew up in the United States?
Yes. So I pretty much grew up in the United States, more so in South Florida, and seeing the community evolve and grow. And yeah, I mean, it's been my whole life here, so I got to experience the growth of the community, the individuals, the people, and all those things kind of helped me to become who I am.
And tell us a little bit about who you are, and that in terms of the transition and the process of growth that you're talking about, for you to get involved in Islamic work, because I know that you're heavily involved in a lot of Islamic activities. So tell us a little bit, and our viewers, share with them a little bit about you, and how did you come about getting involved in Islamic activities?
My main involvement is basically through my parents. My parents, in their youth, were very actively involved in Guyana through the Guyana Islamic Trust. And from there, what they have taught us when we came over here is pretty much to establish this deen, you know, to live life and have Islam be part of your life. So everything that they've taught me, I've grown up seeing them trying to involve themselves in the community, helping others, and through that inspiration from them and what they've taught me and their stories and things of the past, it kind of molded me to be active and to be involved, because throughout my whole childhood we've seen our parents involved in the community, helping, you know, planning programs, events, you know, volunteering, you know, counseling, you know, all the various facets of the work. And so seeing that, living that, it kind of molded me into, I guess, the Islamic worker that I am, you know, having that motivation, that drive, that zeal to constantly contribute and serve people.
So even at an early age, family played a very important role for you, to, you know, to lead you to where you are right now, currently. Yeah. So family life is very important in Islam, and I'm glad that you mentioned that, because it's important for our viewers to know that having a strong family unit is extremely important, and maybe more so now than ever in the community that we live in. Oh
yes. Without my family, you know, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. You know, they're the support that keeps us together in our everyday living. So
let me ask you another question. Have you known Islam, or, you know, working in the community outside of your family, or have you always been plunged into Islamic activities? Do anything outside of that?
I guess growing up in that, it's become so ingrained in me that pretty much you live Islam 24/7, whether you're in the home, outside, in school. You know, there's such a deep love for Islam that's been embedded in my heart throughout my childhood that, you know, regardless where I go, what I do, you know, it's always there, and it's always reflected in how I carry myself, what I speak, how I act. And I think it started in the family, and then as you venture out and have different experiences in school and college and university, you know, those core values are still embedded in there, and then it comes out in, you know, your
so
natural
it just became
dealings.
natural, exactly.
Yeah,
So you sort of just grew and developed further. You never deviated at all from that because it was just part of who you are.
Yeah, exactly.
That's very good. I'm glad that you mentioned that. So how did you get involved in some of the activities? You know, share with us some of the activities actually that you were currently involved in, or maybe in the past, some of the things that you did maybe as a youth.
Okay. As a child, you know, my parents, they saw the community and said, you know, we need something for our children. So that's when they began to plan summer camps and this and that. And then going through that system, you know, seeing camps, weekend camps, summer camps, and things of that nature, when I became probably 13, 14, 15, you know, I got involved, of course, in the community and attending these camps. And of course, part of my childhood was spending time with you through our camps and things that we've attended.
Right.
You know, those played a big part in my development in learning how to deal with young people, how to, it helped me in my knowledge, in my learning, how to be organized and different things of that nature. And so attending these camps throughout my childhood, throughout my teenage years, even up till now, I still attend many seminars and classes and courses and stuff. They all help me in my work that I'm trying to do, because I always try to learn more so I can do more. You know, the more you know, the more you have to give and contribute back. And so all those times, the programs that we've had, you know, from weekend camps to 1 week camps to 2 week camps, you know, seminars, classes, circles, tournaments, all of these things, we ended up taking the mantle and trying to plan for the youth, because we didn't see there was much opportunity for them. And so we felt it was our responsibility to kind of provide something for them, because we were privileged for others to provide for us. And so
you wanted to pass that on to other people.
And continue. Yeah.
That's admirable. That's very good. So I know there must have been challenges. It's not all as easy as we're saying that it is.
Oh, yes.
Share with us some of the challenges that you faced and the lessons that you learned from it, because I know it is very difficult for youths and our teenagers, you know, in this society now, because usually the leadership that we have, they're thinking, okay, you need to be seen and not heard. You know, what you have to say, you're too young, and they sort of put in the background. Even some, unfortunately, are even turned off because the sort of dictatorial leadership that we have, it sort of turns off our young people. So what are some of the challenges, and how can we go about alleviating some of that?
One of the main challenges that I've come across in my Islamic work in these activities is learning to deal with people, you know, the relationship aspect, being able to communicate well with people. You know, the nature of the work is you will butt heads with people, you will have issues, you will have differences of opinions, but learning how to deal with that and overcome that is one of the major things that I struggled with, because generally I'm a very shy, quiet person, and so confrontation is not my strong suit. So when I suggest ideas and different things, it's a little bit difficult for me to you know, debate it or different things like that. But through the years, you kind of figure out as you learn and you study, you know, how to deal with these conflicts and how to resolve them. Another challenge, like you said, with the leadership of the different masajid, you know, a lot of their agenda is more community-based. It's not so focused specifically on the niche market of the youth. And so a lot of times they get neglected. And that's what we saw 5 years ago when we began to start Faym. You know, we saw there wasn't much opportunities for the young people to get some type of training and development. And all the youth that we were around, they were our friends. You know, they were younger than us, but
and they were hungry for something, I'm sure, at the time.
Exactly, right. You know, and it's a special transitioning point for them. You know, that teenage years where they're very formative and they can go in either which way direction, you know, you have to try to capture them and help them and guide them through that period so that they can, you know, once their minds is set and they reach 18, 19, 20, they can make correct decisions in life and move. So 5 years ago when we started Faym, that was our main purpose and behind it, because the masajid weren't providing for the youth.
Right. So you thought it was a necessity at the time that we had to provide these sort of services, so we don't lose the youth in the society today.
Yes, and even if it's helping one youth, you know, alhamdulillah, we did something to help that one individual, that one youth. And it just grew and expanded, and those who were around us and who benefited from it, you know, we said alhamdulillah, and we continue to make dua for them. And those who even were graced with, you know, one event of fame or one program, you know, we hope that they benefit from it. You know, we try to make the effort, and you know, we leave it in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you know.
Well, that's interesting. We're going to continue with this conversation. We'll get back, but it's now time for us to take a short break. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
Subhanallah. Subhanallah.
Tune in to Who's Who in America and in your community, hosted by Sister Naima Khan Ghani, with extraordinary guests every Sunday night at 8:30 p.m. on www.AL-hikmatlive.com.
ولا إله إلا الله ولا إله إلا الله والله أكبر والله أكبر.
Tune in for Friday Khutbah at 1:30 p.m. broadcasting live from Darul Uloom Institute, Pembroke Pines, Florida, on Al-Hikmat TV online.
जश्न आमदे रसूल अल्लाह ही अल्लाह.
Tune in to Young Muslim Talent in America, hosted by Salma Muhammad, with talented kids from all over America, every Saturday night at 8:30 p.m. on www.alhikmatlive.com.
अल्लाह ही अल्लाह. ओ जश्न आमदे रसूल अल्लाह ही अल्लाह.
Thinking of doing Sadaqah Jariyah for your near and dear ones? We recommend you to sponsor the Origin of True Islam brochure, the Genealogy of Prophets, or the surahs and zikr to be recited daily as Sadaqah Jariyah for your parents who have passed away. Or you could sponsor one of the items for yourself, fi sabilillah. For more details, contact the Al-Hikmat office at 1-800-804-0267 or 954-986-0158, or email us at alhikmat@alhikmat.com.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to Al-Hikmat TV. We're viewing Who's Who in America and the community, and my guest today, if you missed it at the beginning, is Brother Raaid Khan. Brother Raaid, we were talking about your involvement in Faym. Now let's move over a little bit to you as Silent K, because I also introduced you as Silent K. How did that name originate? And tell us a little bit about background of how that came about.
When I was about 15 years old, I began to write. You know, I saw a couple brothers, actually from a camp that I was attending. They were writing poetry, writing rap and different things, and I saw them and I was like, you know, this is pretty interesting. I was like, if they could do it, I could do it, you know.
So were you interested in this before you saw that, or you had no interest at all in poetry and rapping?
More so in the rapping arena, you know, the rhymes.
Because that was
and
the in thing, I guess, then.
Yeah, so that was the in thing. So I would go online and read lyrics of rappers and different things and see how they write it, because it's not just about how they say it, but it's also what they're saying.
Exactly.
So I would kind of read it and see what they're saying, what their message, how they put words together and things like that. And then when I saw these two brothers actually doing it, it intrigued me so much that, so let me pick up a pen and try.
Start writing.
So from there I began to write. And most of my writings were just my experiences, things that I was going through. It was more of a personal journal for me. And I had no intention of sharing it with anyone.
Because it was personal, as you just said, right?
Yeah.
You just put your feelings and your thoughts down on paper.
Exactly. And through that, it kind of evolved. And you pick up a pen name because, or stage name. And so Silent K eventually became my name because of my demeanor. I'm a very shy, quiet person. And the K stands for Khan, my last name. So, but then when you go on stage, it's like the complete opposite. You
can't be Silent K anymore.
It's like you have to be out there and outgoing and sharing what you have to say. So it's kind of a you know, an oxymoron, you can say. So it's, you know, you're quiet, but then you're loud, you know.
Exactly.
And so that's, I picked up that name and kept going with it, and it just evolved.
So what inspired you? I know your experience inspired you to do the writing, but how did you happen to get into the public arena? Because you said you're very shy and sort of like to be in the background. So the character, you know, is sort of conflicting. Well,
as my writings progressed, it wasn't until about 5 years of writing till I was about 20 years old. I had all these piles of writing and work and stuff, and I would only share them really with my family, my brother, my sisters, you know, 1 or 2 pieces here and there. And as they slowly discovered, hey, you have so much stuff, you know, you need to share this with others. You know, some of it is very inspiring, some of it can help other people. But I had no intention of actually sharing it with people.
When you started writing it.
Yeah, it was just for myself, my reminders, personal things, you know. And my dad said, you know, you need to publish this. And I never actually thought about it, and so I began to look into how can I publish it, and it was a long, drawn-out process, but then he said, you just got to just do it, even if it's just photocopying it and binding it. So one day, I had published stuff online, and he just went at work, printed it all out, put it together in a book, binded it, and said, here's your first copy. And so from there, I kind of said, okay, it's doable. And then we discovered other means of publishing it, and kind of just went from there, put the work together, edited it and whatever, and designed it, and we did print-on-demand publishing online, and the book was out. And from there, that's when I actually got into the performing aspect of it.
Right, so you published first, and then you start going on tours, or going on visiting and sort of on stage, I guess.
Because once you have the book now, it's, you know, you got to sell
People
the book.
want to hear what it is.
So like, what is this? And so I remember my first performance, or first poetry reading, was at Dar al-Uloom for an event that they had. They invited me, and I went there, and no experience performing, speaking. Wasn't much of a public speaker.
On stage.
Exactly. So it's just kind of, you just recite the poem that I did, and just share a little bit about it, and then from there it just kind of snowballed, and people were interested in what I had to say and my writing, and so I got invited to different events, different things, and then that's when I actually seriously began to try to learn how to perform it, how to speak it, how to present it, and share it, you know.
So you sort of work backwards. You came up with the material first, and then you started working to present and perform and become this stage Silent K individual as we know you today.
Yep.
So most of the writings, you want to share with our viewers a little bit about what are some of your writings about? Because you said they were personal experiences, and it serves as a form of Dawa, giving a message to people who are reading it.
Exactly, and the writings, as I evolved, I began writing for performance purposes, for sharing with people in terms of Dawa. Because a lot of the places that I got invited to, churches, synagogues, bar mitzvahs.
Oh, so you've presented at non-Muslim
events as well.
Interesting.
You know, different things for the mayor, for, you know, a wide variety of places.
Right.
They saw a Muslim guy saying words that were inspiring, you know, not necessarily using, you know, Islam, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and these terms, but the message,
Arabic terminology, but the words,
message itself was a universal message. It's the message of love, of peace, of harmony, you know, of working together, helping one another, speaking truth, you know, these things, and people could relate with that, whether you're Muslim or non-Muslim.
I guess it's real situations too that teenagers and young people can identify with, because they feel what you feel, or you feel what they feel, vice versa.
Yeah, and then I started tackling issues of world issues, what's happening around the world, and with wars and different things like that, and they can also relate to that because it's a human element, you know, and so they connected with it, and from there you get invited to different events and so on, and so it became more of a Dawah thing now, going out there, sharing it, and presenting it, and then afterwards when you talk to people and interact with them, then they'd be like, oh, this is a good Muslim. You know, I've had people come up to me and say, you know, thank you so much. There are good Muslims out there, you know, because their perception is, you know, of whatever the media shows, and they never actually interacted with a real Muslim.
So it certainly is a very unique and powerful way of giving dawah, something that we probably need to tap into some more, you know. Tell us a little bit about how can our viewers, if they're interested in getting your book, how can they purchase or get, you know, make one available to them?
I have a blog right now, but and I also have raaid.com. On there, you can probably find links to the book as well as my blog, where I post poetry and new works and writings and different things of that nature.
And that brings me to my next question. You mentioned new work. So you've added more writings to the book that was originally published. Is there a second book in the making?
There is. It's been in the making for a good while now.
Okay.
You know, I have another huge list of work, pile of work that it's just a matter of taking the time now to go through it and bring it out into another book, and as well as dabble into a CD or spoken word, you know, audio files where you can be released and people could actually hear it rather than, and follow along with it.
Very good.
As they
So what's the difference between, if there is any at all, between the second book that's coming and the first one that you published? Because you said the first one you had no intention of publishing, you just wrote it from your heart. The second one, I'm sure, okay, you're out there, you have a stage name, you're a performer. How is it different?
I think the writing has evolved. When I look back at the first book, it's like the grammar and the words and different things were completely different because I was a teenager at that time. Whereas now, you know, the writing is a little bit more refined, a little bit more different style, different flow to it and everything.
And then you're writing now with performing in mind. When you wrote the original, you were not thinking of performing in mind. So now you're thinking with a performing sort of mentality, okay, I need to write for the stage.
Yes. And so you have stage pieces and then, but there's still also general poems and writings about your feelings and what's happening and what's going on. And so those are different pieces that are also, you know, to be read, but not necessarily for the stage. And so it's a combination of both that I want to bring out.
Okay, and what is the reaction from the community, both Muslim and non-Muslim, from the elderly, I would say, from the older crowd? What was their reaction like? Because I know it's going to be a hit for the young people. What about the other generation?
The other generation, when I first started, I was being introduced as a rapper. And so it didn't go over as well with the older generation. That's when I kind of transitioned to a spoken word poet. When they use poetry, then they can relate more with it because they think of Rumi and Khalil Gibran and all these other people and they say, oh, okay.
More refined. Rapper, they're thinking, okay, it's profanity, it's something bad, it's not a good message out there, right? Yes, yes.
So that's why I transitioned to more poetry and then they became more like, oh, okay.
They bought into it.
They bought into it and they were excited about it and they actually became more excited than some of the young people because of what I was saying, what I was teaching and so they became inspired as well from it.
So what future plans do you have in terms of your writing and your performing? Are you planning any tours in the making?
A couple weeks ago I actually had a week-and-a-half long tour. I performed for 5 different venues. And that was after maybe a year of not performing. I kind of got back into it and started to perform again and write new pieces to perform. And so from there I'm just kind of taking it as it comes. But I would like to maybe plan and put on different poetry events in the community to kind of bring back that spirit and that intrigue. You know, we used to do monthly open mic sessions with people, whoever is interested, they can come out and share their work because it's also about encouraging other people to write, to share what they have to say and provide a platform for them to be heard. You know, once other people hear them, then they themselves become motivated and inspired to, you know, hey, well, I have something to say and here's a platform for me to say it and share it. And so I want to get back into maybe planning and putting on those types of events and so that others can showcase their talent and have an opportunity to, you know, move forward like how I had an opportunity to move forward.
MashaAllah, and you're still moving, mashallah. That's good. So any plans for international tours? Have you been outside of the United States?
Outside of the United States, I know in Guyana, they want to bring me down there. Okay,
that's good. That's a start.
Yeah, they're trying to bring me out there. But I guess internationally, it would be once you create that online presence and expand via online social networking and media and so on, then the international crowd will build. You build up that following, and then you can be able to travel to different places and share your work.
So that's also, I'm sure, part of your plan that you would like to, you know, evolve, inshallah.
Yep.
That's great. Now, what advice, you've done so many Islamic activities, you mentioned camps and seminars and study circles and so many other projects. What advice would you give to our young people who are struggling with time management, struggling, okay, with school or working? How can they get involved with Islamic work and still create that balance? Because they usually, the first answer you tell them, oh, I don't have time for this, you know. So how can we motivate them?
One of the main motivational factors you can give them is to show them the benefit. You know, what will you gain if you spend an hour of your week for the cause of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, trying to volunteer your time? You know, let them try to open their eyes to the benefit not only for the community but for themselves. How will they grow? How will they develop? And a lot of times they might not want to hear it, but it's a matter of you spending and investing that time with them to guide them and say, hey, you know, if you're having issues with time management and not having enough time, what if I could show you how to create an extra hour a day, you know, to do something different, something extra. would that interest you? And kind of connect with them at their level and show them, it's doable, and these are the benefits that this can be your future. This can be something great for you. But it is a lot of work to invest in each individual, and it's a sacrifice that you have to make, even though it's difficult, the reward, if you get one person that you've helped to become a superstar, then
even helping one person makes a difference.
Exactly.
So it's not so much the quantity, but rather the quality.
Exactly.
Yeah, but that's good. We need to motivate. I know our youths, they're sort of so caught up in the dunya. What advice would you give them so that we don't sort of deter them from Islam, because that's exactly what's happening to the majority of them, unfortunately, now. How can we bring them back and encourage them?
I think one of the main things is to show them that it doesn't have to be dunya or Islam. That Islam it's one.
Yeah.
So you can live an American lifestyle and still be Muslim. You don't have to choose between one or the other. So you can, go to the movies with your friends. There's nothing wrong with that, in my opinion.
Right.
But when it's time to pray, you still pray. Even if
you
you're
don't
in
neglect
public,
your duties.
you don't neglect your main duties.
That's easy for us to say here, but we live in this real world. How can we get the message across there? I mean, is there a forum? Is there some sort of strategy that you have we can get out there in the community and sort of get the young people to buy into this idea?
Like I said, I think it's a matter of connecting on their level, what interests them. So if they're into sports,
So you do it through sports.
You do it through sports. If they're interested in poetry, you meet them you provide poetry events for them. If it is through media or film, you provide opportunities for them in that arena, or if it's photography, or if it's whatever they're interested in.
So you research the needs of the
exactly.
youth. You find out what their interest is, and then you tap into that, and then you come in with the Islam or how you can benefit the community.
Exactly.
Come down to their level and find something that's common ground between you and them.
Exactly.
That's a very good strategy, and I wish we need to be, we should be doing that even more so now, because I find that we're lacking behind. At one point we were really on top of getting the youth involved, and then suddenly we plummeted downhill, and we need to sort of pick up pace again.
Yep.
And we need people like you back on board to make sure that's happening and moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, those who were fortunate to grow up and have the chance to get some training, they need to see it as their responsibility now to give back. And so that's part of what I'm trying to do with everything that I'm involved in and doing, trying to give back and contribute and help in whatever way that I can.
So what has been your greatest challenge?
My greatest challenge
Yes.
thus far? The greatest challenge, probably trying to maintain your own Islam, your own Iman, trying to constantly check yourself, check your sincerity, check your ikhlas, make sure you're doing it for the right reasons, the right intentions, that you're not trying to do it to show off or for pride or ego, and always trying to keep yourself in check, and that intention of why you're doing these things. Why is it that I'm involved? Why is it that I do these poetry events? Why is it that I perform? Why is it that I'm involved in trying to help the youth, and constantly reminding yourself and checking yourself in that arena, making sure it's for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that you see it as it's your responsibility, as you're here as a representative of Allah on earth, and you have a responsibility to carry out, and kind of trying to make sure that that's always in check. That, I think, is a constant challenge for anyone involved in any kind of Islamic work, to make sure their niyyah is correct. Always. That's
right. So I guess part of the solution would be to have that reflection piece on a daily basis.
Exactly.
So you keep yourself in check. Thank you so much for viewing Who's Who in America and the Community. This brings us to the end of our program. Join us again next week for another edition of Who's Who in America and Your Community, where you meet ordinary people doing extraordinary things. Until then, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Subhanallah, Subhanallah, Hamdan lillah, Hamdan lillah, wa la ilaha illallah, wa la ilaha illallah, Wallahu akbar, Wallahu akbar. Subhanallah, Subhanallah, Hamdan lillah, Hamdan lillah, wa la إله إلا الله ولا إله إلا الله والله أكبر والله